Imagine losing someone you love. But instead of saying goodbye, you keep them with you. Not for days, not for months, but for years, even decades. You talk to them, you sit beside them, you treat them as if they are still alive. This may sound impossible, but in one part of the world, this is reality. Welcome to Toraja, Indonesia, a place where death does not mean the end. Hidden deep in the mountains of Indonesia, far away from crowded cities, far from noise, traffic, and modern life, there exists a place that feels completely different. This place is called Toraja. Located in the highlands, surrounded by green mountains, and covered with misty valleys, Toraja looks like a peaceful paradise. The journey to reach here is long. You travel through narrow roads, sharp turns, and quiet landscapes, slowly leaving the busy world behind. And as you go deeper, everything begins to change. The noise fades away. The air feels cleaner. The environment becomes calmer. By the time you arrive, you feel like you've entered another world. A world where life moves slowly. A world where time doesn't feel rushed. You see traditional wooden houses with unique curved roofs. Small villages spread across hills. Rice fields stretching into the distance. People living simple lives, working, talking, and sharing moments together. At first glance, everything feels normal, peaceful, beautiful, even perfect. You might think, this is just another quiet village, a place where nothing unusual happens. But that thought doesn't last long, because the deeper you look, the more you begin to notice something unusual, something that doesn't feel the same as other places. You start to see graves, not far away, but right next to homes. You notice wooden structures, built into rocks and hills. In some places, there are figures, standing still, watching over the land. It feels different, unfamiliar, and slowly, a question begins to form. Why is death so visible here? Why is it not hidden, like in the rest of the world? And then, you begin to understand. In Toraja, death is not something people avoid. It is not something they hide. It is not something they try to forget. Instead, it is part of everyday life. A natural, accepted, and deeply respected part of their world. Here, people do not say goodbye to the dead. They do not rush to bury them and move on, because for them, the connection does not end. It continues. It remains. It stays alive in a way that most people cannot imagine. Families stay connected, not just through memories, but through presence. Because in this place, people live differently. They think differently. They understand life and death in a completely different way. And that is what makes Toraja so unique. A place that looks peaceful, but holds a culture unlike anywhere else. A place where life is simple, but beliefs are powerful. And a place where the line between life and death is not as clear as we think. In most parts of the world, death means the end. A final moment, a last goodbye, a funeral is held, prayers are said, and the person is laid to rest. After that, life slowly moves forward. Memories remain, but the person is gone. This is what we are taught. This is what feels normal. But in Toraja, this idea is completely different. Here, death is not seen as an ending. It is not treated as a final goodbye. Instead, it is understood as something else. Something in between. When a person dies in Toraja, their family does not call them dead. They do not say, they are gone forever. Instead, they believe the person is only sick. Yes, sick, not dead, just unwell. And because of this belief, everything changes. There is no rush, no urgency to bury the body. No pressure to say goodbye. Because in their minds, the person is still there, still part of the family, still connected. So instead of being taken away, the body remains inside the home, in the same place where the person once lived. Days pass, then weeks, then months, and sometimes even years. During this time, life continues. But the person is not forgotten. They are not treated like someone who is gone. They are treated like someone who is still present. Families bring food and place it beside them. They sit near them and speak as if they can hear. They share stories, talk about daily life, and include them in conversations. It may seem unusual, even shocking, but for the people of Toraja, this is not strange. This is love, a way of holding on, a way of staying connected. Because for them, the relationship does not end with death. It simply changes form. Children grow up seeing this. They are not afraid. They do not feel fear or discomfort. Instead, they learn to accept it, to understand that the bond between family members does not break so easily. The body may stop moving, but the connection remains. And in their hearts, that connection is real. This belief allows families to take their time, to slowly accept what has happened, to process loss in their own way, not through distance, but through closeness. In Toraja, death is not something that separates people. It is something that keeps them together a little longer. And that is what makes this culture so powerful. Because while the world teaches us to let go quickly, Toraja teaches something different. To hold on, to stay connected, and to understand that, for them, death is not truly the end. Imagine this. You wake up early in the morning, the sun slowly rising, light entering your home. Everything feels normal. You stretch, take a deep breath, and begin your day. But in the next room is the body of someone you loved. Not buried, not taken away, but still there, still part of your home, still part of your life. For most people, this idea feels impossible, uncomfortable, even frightening. But in Toraja, this is completely normal. Here, families do not separate themselves from the dead. Instead, they continue living together, in the same house, under the same roof. The body is carefully preserved, placed in a special room, often treated with respect and care. It is not hidden. It is not ignored. It is acknowledged, accepted, and most importantly, it is still considered part of the family. Daily life continues. People cook, eat, talk, laugh, and the presence of the deceased remains quietly within the home. Families take care of them. They clean the body, adjust their clothes, and make sure everything is maintained. This is not done out of fear. It is done out of love. A way to show respect. A way to say, you are still with us. You still matter. They speak to them as if they can hear. They sit near them, share moments, and sometimes even include them in family routines. It is not seen as strange. It is not seen as unnatural. Because for them, the connection has not ended. Children grow up in this environment. From a very young age, they see death in a different way. They do not fear it. They do not run away from it. Instead, they understand it. They accept it. To them, this is not something dark. It is not something to be afraid of. It is something familiar, something normal, something human. Because they are taught that the person is still present. Not in the same way as before, but not completely gone either. The soul is believed to still be connected, still part of the home, still part of the family's world. And until a final ceremony is performed, that connection remains strong. The journey is not complete. This belief changes everything. It removes fear. It replaces it with understanding, with patience, with acceptance. In a world where people are taught to move on quickly, Toraja offers something different. A slower process, a deeper connection, a chance to hold on just a little longer, to share space, to share time, even after life has ended. And that is what makes this tradition so powerful, because it shows us that love does not disappear instantly. It does not end with a single moment. Sometimes, it stays, quietly, gently, within the walls of a home, where life continues, and the presence of the past is never truly gone. But the most shocking part of this culture comes later, not immediately, not in the first few days, but after time has passed. Every few years, something extraordinary happens. A ritual that is both powerful and deeply emotional. It is called Manene, a ceremony unlike anything else in the world. During this ritual, families return to the graves of their loved ones, places that most people would never revisit once someone is buried. But here, this is only the beginning. The graves are opened. Yes, opened again. Carefully, slowly, with full respect. And from inside, the bodies are brought out. Gently, with care, as if they are still alive. As if they can still feel. There is no fear in their actions. No hesitation. Only focus. And a deep sense of responsibility. Once the bodies are out, the next step begins. They are cleaned. Dust is removed. Dirt is brushed away. Every movement is careful. Every action is meaningful. This is not just a task. It is a moment of connection. A moment of care. Families treat the bodies as if they are helping them, as if they are preparing them. Old clothes are removed. Worn-out fabric, faded garments, are replaced with new ones. Fresh clothes. Clean, neat, sometimes even stylish. Shirts, jackets, even sunglasses. It may seem surprising, but to them, this is a way of honoring the person. A way of showing respect. A way of saying, you are still part of us. You still matter. You are not forgotten. As the process continues, family members gather around. They stand close, watching, helping, participating. And something unexpected happens. They smile. They talk. They laugh. Some even take pictures, photographs with their loved ones. After years, moments that feel unreal, yet completely natural to them. There is no fear, no discomfort, no sadness in the way we usually understand it. Because for them, this is not a moment of loss. It is a moment of reunion. A moment where the past and the present come together again. They speak to them as if they can hear. They stand beside them as if nothing has changed. Because in their hearts, nothing truly has. This ceremony is not about remembering from a distance. It is about reconnecting up close, keeping the bond alive, keeping the relationship real. Manene is not just a ritual. It is a powerful expression of love. A reminder that in Toraja, death does not break the connection. It only changes it. And through this ceremony, that connection is brought back to life. Again and again. Some moments in Toraja feel almost impossible to believe. Moments that make you pause and question everything you thought you knew. Because what you see here does not match the world most of us understand. Imagine standing in a room, surrounded by family members, and in front of you is the body of someone who passed away many years ago. And yet, people are talking to them, not remembering them, not just speaking about them, but speaking directly, as if they are still alive. They call their name. They share stories. They laugh. They even joke. Their tone is natural. Their expressions are real. There is no hesitation. No fear. Because to them, this is not strange. This is connection. And then, something even more surprising happens. A phone is brought out. A video call begins. On the screen, a relative from far away appears. Someone who could not travel. Someone who could not be there physically. And what do? They are given the chance to meet the deceased. The phone is gently held in front of the body, and the person on the other side starts talking. They greet them. They speak their name. They share emotions, as if the person can hear every word. Imagine that moment. A living person on a digital screen having a conversation with someone who died 30 years ago. It feels unreal. It feels like something from a movie. But here, this is completely normal. Because in their belief, the person is not truly gone. They are still present. Still part of the family. Still included in important moments. And then, there are moments that go even deeper. Moments that touch something emotional. A child, standing quietly, looking at a body that belongs to someone they never met. A grandmother, who passed away long before the child was born. And yet, this is their first meeting. The child looks with curiosity, not fear. The family gently introduces them. They explain who she was, what she meant, how she is still part of them. And in that moment, something powerful happens. A connection is formed. Not through memory, but through presence. A bond that crosses time itself. For outsiders, this can feel overwhelming, strange, even uncomfortable, because we are taught to keep distance from death, to separate it from life, to move on quickly. But in Toraja, there is no such separation. There is no fear of closeness. Because for them, this is not horror. This is not something dark. This is love. A different kind of love. One that does not end when life ends. One that continues in ways that most of the world cannot understand. And that is what makes these moments so powerful. Because they challenge everything we believe and show us a reality where the connection between people never truly disappears. To truly understand this culture, we have to go deeper. Because on the surface, it may seem strange, unusual, even difficult to accept. But behind every action, there is a belief. And in Toraja, that belief changes everything. For the Toraja people, life and death are not separate worlds. They are connected. Two parts of the same journey. In most places, death is seen as the end. A final moment. A line that cannot be crossed. But here, that line does not exist. Death is not the end. It is a transition. A movement. From one stage to another. A journey that continues even after life stops. And until that journey is complete, the person is not truly gone. They are still present. Still connected to the family. Still part of their world. This belief is not just an idea. It is something they live by. Every single day. It shapes how they think. How they feel. How they respond to loss. Because if someone is still part of your journey, then you do not leave them behind. You do not forget them. You do not move on quickly. Instead, you stay connected. You take your time. You honor them. And that is where the Manene ceremony becomes important. It is not just a ritual. It is not just tradition. It is a powerful act of respect. A way to show that the bond is still alive. When families take out the bodies, clean them, dress them, they are not performing a strange act. They are expressing love. They are saying, "You are still part of us. We still care. We still remember. We still feel your presence. In many cultures, people are afraid of forgetting. They try to hold on to memories, photos, videos, stories, but in Toraja, they do something more. They maintain the connection physically. They bring the past into the present, again and again, because for them, forgetting the dead is worse than death itself. To be forgotten means to disappear completely, and that is something they cannot accept. So instead, they choose to remember, to reconnect, to keep the bond alive, not just in their minds, but in their reality. This belief creates a different kind of strength. It allows them to face death without fear, to accept it without panic, to live with it without running away. And in doing so, they create something powerful. A culture where love does not end, where connection does not break, and where the journey of a person continues even after life itself has come to an end. For outsiders, this culture can feel shocking. The first reaction is often the same: surprise, confusion, discomfort, because what happens in Toraja goes against everything we are taught. In most parts of the world, death is something we avoid. We don't talk about it openly. We don't keep it close. We try to move past it as quickly as possible. Funerals are short. Grief is expected, but only for a limited time. And then, life must continue. We are taught to let go, to create distance, to protect ourselves from the pain. So when people see Toraja, it feels overwhelming. Families living with the dead, talking to them, caring for them, it can feel uncomfortable, even disturbing, because it challenges our understanding of what is normal. It forces us to face something we usually try to ignore: death. But what if the discomfort is not because their way is wrong? What if it's because it's different? Toraja does not hide death. It does not push it away. Instead, it brings it closer. It makes it visible. It makes it part of everyday life. And in doing so, it changes the way people experience it. There is less fear, less panic, less need to escape from the reality of loss. Instead, there is acceptance, patience, understanding. For the outside world, this raises an important question. What if death is not something we should always fear? What if it is not something we need to avoid or hide from? What if it is simply a natural part of life? Something to accept instead of deny, something to understand instead of run away from. Toraja does not give easy answers, but it does something powerful. It challenges the way we think. It forces us to question our beliefs. And it shows us that there is more than one way to understand life and death, because sometimes what feels strange to us is simply another way of seeing the same truth. Behind all of this, the rituals, the traditions, the beliefs, there is something deeply human, something simple, yet incredibly powerful: love. Because at its core, this is not about death. It is not about fear or anything dark. It is about connection, about the bond between people who shared a life together. The kind of bond that does not break easily. In most parts of the world, we are taught to let go, to accept loss, and move forward, to say goodbye, and leave the past behind. But in Toraja, they choose something different. They choose to hold on. Not forever, but just a little longer. They give themselves time. Time to accept. Time to feel. Time to stay connected. Because letting go is not always easy. And for them, it doesn't have to happen immediately. This tradition allows families to keep their loved ones close. Not just in memory, but in presence. To share space. To share moments, even after life has ended. And maybe, that is something we can all understand. Because deep down, everyone has felt that fear. The fear of losing someone, and never seeing them again. Toraja does not remove that pain, but it changes how people deal with it. Instead of rushing the goodbye, they slow it down. They stay. They remember. They connect. Even if the rest of the world does not understand. Because sometimes, love is not about letting go quickly. Sometimes, love is about holding on just a little longer. So the next time you think about death, remember this place. A place where people don't say goodbye. They stay connected. Where memories are not just remembered, but lived every single day. Where the line between life and death is not clear, but beautifully blurred. Toraja is not just a place. It is a reminder that culture shapes how we see the world. And sometimes, what feels strange to us is not wrong. It is simply another way of loving.